loud this week, aren't I, Helkiana?
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Good. Was a very, very interesting week on the socials and in Discords and everything like that. And it's kind of worked out well for us that we don't have a guest this week because we've got a fair bit to talk about. Some of the stuff from last week and some of the stuff that happened on Twitter, TRMZ's tweet and the DayZ Twitter account just disappearing. And yeah, bit of an interesting week. So Cobra said he was going to be here this week, sent me a message 3 hours ago saying, "You good for the show this week?" And I wake up and so I say to him, "Yep, I'm good." And then he doesn't turn up. He's probably still recovering from his holiday in Spain or whatever it was, mate.
Isn't it like Father's Day today? So
I don't know if it is in. I know in Australia it's not. That's not until
15, or I don't know. Like I've seen people saying on Twitter because like me being from Romania, we don't have a Father's Day.
Wow.
At least not that I know of.
Yeah.
But I think I've seen people today posting on Twitter about Father's Day. So
okay, Foxy's saying it is, and he's in the UK. So yeah.
Yeah. So
anyway,
it might be the.
Happy Father's Day to all the good dads out there. Have to preface that with good dads because there's a lot of people who, dad is a title you earn. Anyone can be a father, but not everyone can be a dad. Same with mothers, but it's more common with dads. Even I will admit that. But let's not get sociological. Let us talk about, well, what do you reckon we start with? TRMZ's, well, I've got it up on the screen, but we'll start with the updated EULA. So how did that go down in the modding community, mate?
I think most people didn't even like clock it, to be honest. There was a bit of like panic, I guess, when Dino's posted on Twitter. Like he was I was talking with him like at that point, even before. Like I was talking with him in DMs, and he got all panicky about what he says there because he read the game EULA, but not the tools EULA.
Yep. So what's the difference for us lay people?
So before they did this update, basically the game EULA was applying to mods as well. From at least like that was our understanding, which was there was something there that always confused people, like all the content made with the game is basically owned by DayZ. But in the updated version, they make more clarifications that when they say content, it means videos, screenshots, that kind of stuff. So it's not necessarily that they own it, but more like they can do stuff with it, like maybe use it in promotional campaigns and stuff like that. Put it whatever they want, And they added a new section in the game EULA saying that this one gets preceded by the tools EULA. So if for any content made with the tools, it's that EULA that applies to them. So it's a bit more clear which one is for the mods, because with the tools we make mods. And the tools are usually, like how we make the models, how we publish, how we sign the PBOs, and how we pack the PBOs for the mods. And they added a new sentence in the tools EULA, which basically says that we cannot make like intentional bad code that would stop the game or services, which services like DayZ servers, I think this was to combat the idea of, you're going to make a server specific mod where you're going to put, if this IP is not my IP, stop the game, stop the server kind of thing. So people are like, but why did they add it? Because like, wasn't that always a thing? And it's a thing for Steam Workshop rules. You cannot make a mod that will interfere with the game workings. I guess like
Yep.
the game must work when you load the mod. Um, but a lot of people didn't really know it, so I guess they put it there to just kind of like emphasize on it that you can't have it. You must be able to use the mods because we're going back to the previous week discussion. Having this server specific mods where legally, yeah, you can use the mod, but um,
So when you say change the game, like what are you talking about in that aspect?
what do you mean?
You said
Repeat.
about you can't change the core game sort of thing. So um, that you basically can't use it like a Gary's mod to create a game from the game sort of thing. But because it's a funny thing to try to understand because a lot of mods do change a lot of what DayZ is.
Well, no, it's just to not interfere with the game. Like for example, some mods have made the that if it doesn't run on specific server or on blacklisted servers,
Mm-hmm.
they will make the players teleport around or like start vomiting, like just breaking their gameplay. Um, some of them they do simple as just closing the game if it's on a blacklisted IP, which is against the rules. And I've warned some other people when I've seen it in their code, and I was like, well, um, you shouldn't be putting that there. You might want to take it out because it's against the rules. Um, I guess maybe this is also DayZ's response about the fact that we do have server specific mods, and they don't like that. I don't know.
So a few people in chat are asking. So basically, what does in summary, what does the EULA mean for modders?
Uh, it doesn't change much from what it's been so far. Basically, just don't put any malicious code. Um, People were also worried. I guess like they were like, well, what if my mod is out of date? Because obviously that doesn't work, right? Like if I just stop maintaining a mod, then it's not gonna work and basically interfering. But I that's not clearly defined in the EULA, but that would fall under like normal.
I
Um,
just updated the banner title.
yeah,
Updated DayZ Tools modding EULA because there was always the end user license agreement just for the game.
yeah,
And it did address quite well for content creators, but there was a lot of ambiguity around, as you said, with what modders could do because there wasn't a specific one. And they do differentiate between DayZ and Armor a lot, don't they, on the website?
yeah, they definitely
It's,
do. So I see someone saying like teleporting mods and such, is that against the terms? No, no, the mods, whatever you do in the mod is fine as long as it's not doing a specific code that might interfere with someone's gameplay, like shutting down the server if it doesn't run on the right IP. Malicious intent, yeah. Um, yeah, so if you have IP whitelisted mods, you can't do that. I mean, you were never allowed to do that. But it wasn't really kind of enforced, I guess. Um, I mean, you might get away with it until someone figures out. But it will be reported, and then they can take it down. And yeah, it is a bit of a blow to server specific mods, I would say. But that doesn't mean that you can't make them and just put, this is like I have this is for Willow Grade. If someone tries to run it, they can try, but like it's probably not gonna work with their mods because I have my specific set of mods. Um it's a different thing, you know. Yeah, basically to this question, yes, you're not allowed to make checks for IP or do like API calls, because some mods do that. Like for example, they do like when you, because there are some paid mods, right, where they add you to a list of like a white list, and they do API calls to see if you're allowed to run it or not. That stuff is not allowed.
So all these servers that have got their own unique server mod, they can't have that anymore.
I think it's just gonna make it harder for us. Because obviously last week's discussion opened a can of worms, which I said last time it did more harm than good. In my opinion, at least. You can still probably do certain stuff, like if you have a specific, let's say, medicine code, like health system code that can run only on the server, you put only on the workshop, only the client side, and then you put on the server side, and you don't share that. At the moment, that's the only way you can do it. And that kind of brings, because I've asked a lot of questions after the previous podcast, like how do we protect the mods? Because I was like, after we finished the podcast, I had a bit of a heated discussion in my stream with MDC and JD, and I was like, you know, I'll find a way of stopping you guys. And they were like, yeah, we'll just overwrite and create whatever the intended use, you know. But you can override that by putting a custom license, for example. So they made it a bit more clear that if you put all rights reserved on your mod, no one is allowed to mod it. So even if they want to make your server-specific mod to work on other servers, they are not allowed to do it. They cannot modify your mod in any shape or form. So from now on, it's gonna be, I think, a bit more ugly. I'm gonna have to apply more of these licenses. You don't need to obtain the license. You just have to put overriding in a mod is considered a modification, yes. Yeah, then you would hit them with the DMCA if they override your mod, because it is considered a modification even if it doesn't like do the whole thing, because of the nature of how DayZ does the code.
The TLDR on it is basically that the EULA is now the same as it is for Armour.
Is it? Well, yeah. I have not read the Arma one. Maybe they updated a bit more there before DayZ.
My understanding was they brought it in line with Armour. So they may have done some changes to the Armour one. But basically what Helkiana said before, last week's, or the events that we talked about on last week's show were a bit of a wake-up call for them that they needed to clarify. Now, I actually had some information sent to me that I shared with Helkiana before this so that she could get her head around it. But what I was told was that the EULAs have been changed so that they are the same as Armour Reforger. Hopefully it clarifies what can be done and what cannot be done and which one applies where. Also, what was talked about last week, and I've actually gone back and I've cut it from the episode. I was told that what JD talked about how to get the BI key, which is just the BI key for a mod, which enables it to work. But that method that people have been using to get the buy key out of a mod is a clear end user license agreement breach. It always was, and it still is. So anyone talking publicly about doing that is running risk of basically having action taken against them. What that action could be, I don't know. Has anyone ever had that done to them, Helkiana?
No, I don't think so. At the moment, the only actions we've seen is banned from the workshop. And obviously, if like if what it says, their MTC made a video on that, they have the right to go to YouTube and take it down. Basically, because even that part where it says they have the rights to any video you make with the game, if you make a tutorial on
They've
that,
taken
it's
videos
like
down before, cheaters
Yeah.
stuff, haven't they, Helkiana?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just we're kind of going in the wrong direction a little bit, and there's like still split opinions on the server specific mods. I believe people have the right of just doing it, if they want to. Is there money and time, spent on it? It sucks that we wouldn't get that kind of thing public, but like I think we have bigger issues, like paid mods. I feel like those are worse, and we should be focusing our efforts towards that.
What God Shadow just said, so stuff like the red zone that's going back a few years can't function without making all their code public. Not the code, although modders do know how to view the codes and all the rest of it, but it appears like it's sounding like they just need to make the mods need to be public access, which is strange, because as much as I do like there being shared information and mods that make the game better as for everyone, I do understand why communities want to have their own specific, and a lot of them spend a lot of money getting some of these mods made, and for them to then have to allow anyone to use that, I know there's people who don't agree with this, but I think that's wrong personally, if that's what this all means.
Yeah, so just to clarify about the public thing, all mods that are on the workshop and that can be subscribed by anyone, they are public, right? They have like drop down there, which is private, hidden, friends, and public. They have to be public, so a random player can join your server and subscribe to the mod automatically. What you can obviously say, this is my mod for my server. People can try to use it.
And you said
I
about
don't.
that custom license before as well?
Yeah, so the custom license is about obviously distribution, modification, but not about usage. And like usage is public to everyone. If it's put as public, everyone can use it. If it doesn't work because it's missing data, well, that's a different story. And they cannot, I don't think they can make a mod work just because it's on the on the workshop, right? Like I have like an old mod, like the Christmas one. Like I don't even know if it still works. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work, and I just haven't had the time to update it, and they can't ban me from the workshop, but this doesn't work. Well, people shouldn't be using it if it doesn't work. So there is some ways you can get away with it. It's as long as it doesn't do any malicious code, like.
I would just encourage people, if you're unsure, reach out, raise a ticket, ask BI. because don't, at the end of the day, don't take anything that Helkiana is saying here as gospel. Helkiana isn't a BI representative, and the last thing she would want is people to get in trouble because they're listening to what she said. This is just her understanding of it. She's not even like a lawyer per se. You'd go to a lawyer and you'd ask legal speak, and then you could go back to that lawyer and say you got it wrong, and take action against them. She's basically just someone who does this, and she's probably a little bit better placed having worked as a game dev and so on. But she's not a BI representative. So anything we're saying here is just how we understand it. End of the day, you go to the workshop, go to the forums, ask questions in there, raise a ticket. The phrase is, this is not legal advice. I am not a financial advisor. That seems to be the big one these days, isn't it, Elkiana?
But I mean, it's just I have a vested interest in this, obviously. So I have been investigating and reading and everything, and asking questions here and there. So, like Darkwing mentioned, there missing a key from the mod is different from the code now, like crashing a server because it doesn't have the right IP. So you can still just not put the key there, because people can run it without the key, but they would open their server to more hacks, basically, if they run it with that. So it's a complicated one. I'm not.
It's a bit of uncharted territory. This is the first time they've done something like this in a while. So there's a lot of learning and understanding of what the new world means and how things will work. But I would advise people to go and look at the Armor Reforger modding scene, because that might give you some good insight. If you know anyone who is modding for that, speak to them, because they've been doing this for a while now, haven't they, Helkiana?
Yeah. So I see there was a message about Mikera's tools. So obviously, when you accept the DayZ tools, you accept it for those tools. Mikera's tools, they fall outside because they were made by BI. But when we do sign the PBOs, we sign it with DayZ tool. So even if I pack the mod with Mikeros and then I go and sign it with the SU tools from DayZ, that kind of like it's just Mikeros tools also uses BI tools. I don't know what the inner workings. I probably like for the signing it might do that. I don't know exactly, but so I would just say, just in general, like don't try to go around too much to try and find loopholes. You'll definitely piss them off, and because people are like, who are selling mods, they're like, oh well, I wrote the code in Notepad++, and then I gave them this, and then they packed it, and because of that I have the right to sell it. I don't know. It's like it's trying to find.
Do you reckon that would wash what Skullspeed is saying there, Helkiana? I mean, I think it makes it quite clear.
This mod is for Rob's server only. All right, reserve. Yep. There's also another thing which I've been advised to put on the mods. Basically is copyright, and then you put your name, or like that's on the workshop with a link to your workshop, or like your profile on Steam, and then also mention this item is not authorized for posting on Steam except under the Steam account, and then you put a hyperlink for your Steam account. That will help with the DMCA when you do that through Steam.
See, the thing is, you can put whatever you want there, but relying on BI to, you going to BI and saying, hey, I've got all rights reserved, they're using it, can you do something? They're probably not going to do something, folks. You're still basically pushing for, it's going to be up to you to take any legal action, which is, as everyone knows, legal action is expensive. So, shit. Here we go. Demonetization. Shit cunts will be shit cunts, won't they, Helkiana?
Yeah, so it's going to be difficult. As we all know, DMCA is now a very good process on Steam. You can do it. I would advise to just get a PO box. You can get a free one in UK. You only need to give a couple details, and you can get a PO box. Don't put your real address and your real number, because whoever you're DMCAing will get your details like straight away. And like Dinos was saying, like, oh well, this guy that I'm DMCAing is like lives like a mile away from me. He could just come on my door, and because he's pissed off because I DMCA'd him, and he's gonna knock my head in. People did this for less, right? So you do be careful. Get a PO box if you're gonna do DMCAs. They can counter it, but their mod will be taken down for a little bit, and then Steam is gonna be like, well, they countered it, they say they own it, take it to court, bring a court paper, and then we'll take it down. Going to court, obviously, even if you do the filing, no
that
lawyer
person
is
could be
probably
in Russia, and you're in Europe or America or Australia, and vice versa. Are you really prepared to engage international lawyers? Fucking, it's just.
Exactly. It's usually the Russians that are a bit smarter know it. DMCA is usually just a little bit of a scare for people that don't know much. It's not more than that, because nobody's gonna go to court over some mod being re-uploaded. Yeah, you can just keep DMCAing if they do make another account and all that. But I don't know. It's a difficult one.
I like what Josie said.
I deal with it.
And this applies to everything from, I've got my face on here. Basically, if you put it on Steam, if you put it on the internet, you've got to accept that you just gave that to the internet. No matter what aspect, it's there, and you've got to be good with that. And you got to know that people will do shit. So it's a risk versus reward is, almost everything in life. From, when you jump in your car or get on a plane, you're taking a risk with everything you do. But what's the reward going to be for it? So, yeah, if you don't want something stolen, don't publish it, but then, you can't enjoy it. So, yeah, DMCA is a joke, not just on Steam. DMCA is a joke on YouTube and everywhere. It's we've had the internet for 30 plus years, and we're still struggling with some basic etiquette and law for global implications. And companies like BI, YouTube, and so on, all they're really concerned about, folks, is protecting themselves from lawsuits. You, the individual maker, unless you're like, I see the Running Man's been having issues with his song. Universal Music Studios keep on claiming his videos because his songs apparently sounds like some weird ass song, and I listened to it, and barring a very obscure sort of sound at the start of it, they're not the same song. But he's going up against Universal Music. Whose side do you think YouTube's going to take? A 500,000 subscriber YouTube channel or a multi-billion-dollar music company? He's screwed, unless he's prepared to, fight maybe in a court. But it's just Yeah. What Helgiana said about getting a PO box, cannot recommend that enough. You may have to go a little bit further. I went with with something like YouTube. I don't know how full on it is on Steam, but with YouTube, you can't use a PO box. So I had to register a business name and get basically what they call like an online business address. So for a year there, when I had my copyright claim from Wagony, I had to use, I think I paid about $300 for the year to get a registered business address at like a shared business address place that's a physical building, and I could go there and use the facilities and all the rest of it. But I didn't want him having my personal address and stuff like that. So
definitely.
that was the steps I took. That alone was probably more than I made in a year from YouTube revenue. But I don't want someone who clearly doesn't like me having my details. So protect your ass, people. What do they call it? CYA, cover your ass. Take whatever steps you need to protect yourself. But end of the day, once you put something on the internet, it's going to get used by people for a variety of reasons. Hopefully, mostly are good, but there's always some nefarious people out there. I do want to just double down again, though, with that information I said, just to make sure that this is very clear to everyone. And this is from BI. The end user license agreements have been changed so that they are the same as Armour Reforger. Hopefully it clarifies what can be done and what cannot be done. Doesn't really seem to have, but we're still learning all the Armour Reforger stuff. Also, what JD mentioned on the stream about how to get the bikie out is clear end user license agreement breach now and back then. I was also asked to clip that part from that episode, which has been done, where he talked about how to do it. And that if this keeps stirring up the community, then we might decide to take action. So again, that could mean anything from bans from the workshop to I don't know. I know that and don't not believe them when they say that. Hey, Helkiana, I know server owners who've had cease and desist letters sent to them for stuff. So they will engage their lawyers if they need to, and that's where that's basically the early part where they send you a nice, sternly worded letter saying cease and desist what you're doing or else. I don't know anyone who's had or the or else part, but are you aware of any, Helkiana?
No, I never heard, but like, who's gonna take the chance, right?
Yeah,
just for like a DayZ server or DayZ mod, right?
because you probably know people who've had those letters too, don't you?
No, I actually don't.
Oh, there you go. You that's because you surround yourself with nicer people than I do. I'm in the slums. Well, I'm in a fucking convict colony, aren't I? Of course, I know people who break the rules.
I mean, I reported once, like for example, someone let me know that there's like some Spanish server that's selling my items, but like it wasn't just like a like a reskin or anything. They were actually selling like, oh, you can buy a military crate for $3 or some shit, and they will deliver it to you in game. But then when I looked into it, what they were doing, they had their own launcher and they were using a cracked DayZ. So everyone that was joining there, they weren't using Steam either. So I made an email to BI legal, and I sent them all the details. This is IP. This is Discord. Look, screenshots. Blah blah blah. Everything. But I never heard anything back from them. To be honest, I have no idea because I got banned from the Discord. Obviously, it's from their Discord server, so I can verify if they did take action at any point. It's a difficult battle for BI as well. So
Yeah. Anything else you think we need to share with folks before we move on?
I guess it's just kind of like a summary with this new EULA. Just don't put any code that might affect the game when run and is now on a specific server. You can still put, that your mod is for a specific server. I mean, that doesn't really change anything. You can put all rights reserved and put that thing that who's authorized to post that mod on the Steam Workshop, which is yourself or your team, put it exactly there so it helps you with the DMCA. And if you do want to protect your server mods, you're going to have to start making server-side mods only. That's the only way, really.
That's a good question there from Josie. Will this block people from putting those keyloggers mentioned in a past episode, the one that made us come back?
No.
Because that's not actually
it's not-
blocking the mod from
It's not
working,
blocking
is
the
it?
game from working. It's just transmitting whatever you press in game while being in game to somewhere like any logging. Like,
Okay. Any other questions, chat? While we see if you've got any, we'll do a quick explanation of what happened. The DayZ Twitter went down, which had a few people concerned. But from what I understand of it, it was simply when they created the DayZ Twitter account, I think they put the date of birth as the launch of DayZ Early Access, and somehow in a internal review in Twitter, they found this account that wasn't old enough to be owning a Twitter account, and they suspended it. But it's back up now, isn't it, Helkiana?
yeah, it's back up. I think it took like about a day to sort it out. And I think because like Scotty mentioned on Twitter, I think they were doing some modifications to the account and they changed the date of birth and they probably put effort to what the DayZ launch is, which is about 10 years, right? So you're not allowed to have a Twitter account if you're under 13. And if you did have a Twitter account when you were 13, and by now you're like 18, it will still they will still get your account deleted. So don't if if you if you ever had a Twitter account when you were under the 13, don't change your date of birth. Because they will still ban you even though you're like an adult now.
So I saw Skullspeeder ask it, so we might as well talk about it. The DayZ Frostline dev blog had some interesting stuff in it. The view distance is the one that's got everyone excited.
Yeah, I looked at a little bit. I didn't really understand, because the view distance, obviously, I think is going to be only on PC. So people are still going to have issues, uh, if they don't have a good PC with a view distance. Um, I don't know how that's going to affect like the game overall.
And people's, it's probably going to put more of a impact on the previous gen consoles. They'll struggle with
I
the new
don't
map.
I don't think they're gonna put the view distance option for consoles.
Okay.
My understanding was only PC, and it's terrain only anyway, so you cannot render people more than 1,000 meters away. Anyway, so
Yeah, it does say there for PC we are increasing view distance. Just looking at it now. So, yep. I would share the screen, folks, but we all know what my Aussie internet is like. I'll share the link in chat for everyone who wants to view it for themselves. But the main thing I want to talk about is a lot of people seem to be happy they're doing this, Helkiana, these more in-depth updates.
yeah, people are happy to be involved, and see some things ahead of the release.
Infected hearing. Have they
But
done the hot fix for that yet?
no, they have not. They haven't done any
Must be a bit
updates.
more complex than we thought. I thought that would have been a big priority considering how much of a tither it got everyone in.
Yeah, I would have thought that as well. But no, I was hoping they would do some hotfix soon for that and some other things, but
So yeah, I just think it's great that they're doing these more in-depth dev blogs, letting people know what's coming, because we've said it time and time again on this show. The more they share, the more chance there is for feedback prior to these things going live. So yeah, and it allows people to prepare themselves better and also suggest any issues that they may have or stuff like that. Yeah, it's a win. It's a definite win for them in my books, Helkiana.
Yeah.
Okay, we are now going to address the other elephant in the room from last week. Mr. Running Man Z Paul did the longest tweet ever warning, an open letter of feedback for the at DayZ, at Sumrak, and the devs on a few things. Usually, sorry, I'll read it out because I know not everyone has Twitter, but be prepared to hear my voice for quite some time because it is a long tweet.
Do you want me to screen share the tweet?
Yeah, actually, that might be better. So, sorry, I usually send it in private, but kind of feel like this one merits conversation. To any followers and fans of DayZ, please feel free to chime in and say what you think. You don't just need to agree with me. Trying to keep things polite and having an open discussion would be cool if possible. I really feel like some of the recent changes have been to the detriment of the game. And what makes it so amazing? Just wanted to go over a few of them. It's mostly the infected, but not just their hearing. I almost wanted to make a video on this subject, but I really don't want to occupy my channel, which is meant to be for entertaining people, with more of an essay-style vid. Instead, you get the essay on Twitter. For the last few days, I've been playing Livonia Official, one day on first person and one day on third person. And these are the few things. The spawn system is broken. Everybody spawns in the same area for 6 minutes. I think it's 6. Every experiment just hasn't worked for me. The spawns are a mess, and it feels utterly forced and meted now. You spawn in, there are 3 dead bodies, 2 people at the well, and 1 mad player running around killing everyone with an axe or sledgehammer. This may seem fun, but every life is the same, and some people just do this, knowing that every time they spawn, other players will be there, and when the spawns move to the next location, they can just spawn there and carry on the fight. It's not fun. It may have the benefits of spawning close to your teammate if you're in a duo, trio, etc., but for everyone else, it's a meted clusterfuck. It feels like every spawn on a full pop server is like hot dropping into a popular area of a battle royale. Most people are out for blood, and there is no loot because everyone has run through. In the early stages of a run inland, you mostly feel like you're following someone always because you usually are. It's changed the game for the worst, in my opinion. And if we must pander to groups, then please can we have a choice where we can join servers between the group spawning and a random spawn for a non-meted DayZ experience. It was better before, in my opinion, and not by a small amount. Now, I think we'll break it up into points because it is quite a long one and there's a lot to cover. So I agree 110% with him, Helkiana. I generally, I play long lives, so I'm not always asked ChatGPT to summarize the tweet. that's good talk. That is good. But what did you think of what he that first point?
There's a lot. So
about the spawns. We're breaking it down. So what did you think about his point about everyone spawning in the same area for those time frames?
I mean, 6 minutes is not that long, to be honest. But I haven't played any PvP to see how it's like, but I can understand how it would be if it's a bit of a hardcore server. I've seen some people saying they don't like it because you just don't find loot. Because if, like, for example, you're in one village, the villages, they tend to not be that big, and it won't respawn.
There's a key thing I want to, sorry to interrupt you, Helkiana, but it's important to note that he was saying he's playing Livonia. Now, where this becomes even worse with Livonia is barring the dynamic spawns of stones and chickens and so on, you get no fruit. I don't even think you get mushrooms from memory on Livonia. So
Yeah.
you're entirely reliant on finding a knife and getting to kill an animal, cut it up, and then go fishing to get food if you can't find food around you. So with
Yeah.
Livonia, I don't think a lot of people quite understood it, but it is a very, very valid point when you talk about Livonia, Helkiana.
Yeah, definitely is. It's just generally like people will be starved of loot right at the beginning, even in like on hours, because there just won't be any loot in the area because the village is so small. The DayZ spawn system will stop anything from spawning there while people are there, and then like you said, there's a lot of skirmishes because people don't care. They just want to mess around, and I don't even know like how it was gonna like how it is on Namalsk, I guess. Um, so because like everyone spawning in the same area, it's already been bad before. So I don't know if like I think they did say that you can disable this new system in your XMLs. So I'm not sure. Like maybe just people don't like server owners haven't been disabling it as well. So there's that part as well. Livonia doesn't have fruit because Livonia is early summer. So the spawn of fruit is disabled by default. I mean, you can enable it, but
I don't think I've ever played a server that did have it enabled. So yeah, it is something to be aware of. And yeah, he says he was playing official, I think as well in that tweet, first person and then third person. So yep, Livonia official. So it really does impact it. So yeah, it's I don't know. I don't understand why you do that, but at the same time, maybe that's a way that they can differentiate between the official servers, have some where it's on and some where it's off for a more random experience. Because I always like that, and I can understand the frustration of when you are playing on the high pop servers that you always end up with those guys who are just there for the shits and the giggles, the lol, the trolls, whatever, which not everyone wants to have. So yeah. His next point. Thank you, Foxy, for the summary. Zombies infected AI. Zombies have poor pathfinding, get stuck in doorways, and their increased ability to damage clothes and cause bleeding makes gameplay tedious rather than challenging. The writer calls for improvements to AI behavior and a reconsideration of the damage mechanics. I think he referred to it as basically like it was where was the word? What was the wording of it? That you're constantly um, the zombies are how they are, but the decision to massively increase the rate at which they ruin clothes when they hit us, how often they make us bleed when they hit, has become really annoying. It's not hard. It's not, to me, compelling gameplay. It's moved into being tedious. And again, when you're combining that with you've spawned into an area where you're basically going to be following someone, or there's a number of players who spawn there with you on Livonia, it gets hard. You use 25% of a sewing kit every time you repair it. Rags, you start to run out of that stuff pretty quick, especially on a high pop server. So I'm glad he also talked about the issue with the containers, because that's bugged me for so long, Helkiana. You try to wait for them to eventually, come at you so you can take them on. You don't want to go out and aggro more, but all they do is just keep running from side to side of the container door.
yeah, and you also sometimes like you don't really want to fight outside somewhere because someone might just be sitting
Yeah.
around waiting with a sniper, so you generally go indoors like to kind of deal with one at a time. Um, but yeah, I agree. The change they've done to the zombies is not making them harder, it's just making it annoying, tedious.
Yep.
Like they can make it like I think we discussed with Marks back then as well when he made the video. They can make them more challenging, but through other ways, like
Yes.
um get the doors, open the doors so you can't just lock them in, but like honestly, it's been really annoying, like even for my server, I've been playing it. I was like constantly ruining clothes because I've added a new thing on my server where you can't put things inside your clothes if they're ruined. So, so people having their clothes constantly ruined is really annoying. Um, they when they added that, it was even worse. They toned it down a little bit, but now because there's just so many, it's like it's constantly getting hit.
Yeah.
So I don't
The
know when
next
they're gonna
point,
fix it.
well, they kind of, I wasn't even going to talk about it, but they said that the AI is, suspended for the time being. So, it's kind of suck it up and deal with it. But I
Yeah,
agree with you that there are more ways to make them challenging than just making them stronger. Different pathfinding, but a lot of that goes back to needing AI. Or needing an AI overhaul, which just doesn't appear to be happening. The next
yeah,
topic, ChatGPT summed up as gameplay mechanics. Paul called it plate spinning. And this sort of touched on what I mentioned before about how this game now involves excessive maintenance tasks like repairing clothes and managing bleeding, which detracts from the core survival experience. The writer suggests balancing these elements to reduce monotony. Now, this one, I don't know how much I was 100% on board with. Um, I might actually read his full thing here. So he calls it plate spinning. There are so many examples of this. Some I can see making sense, like suppressors needing a lot of maintenance because of how powerful they can be. But many of the others I just don't get. Why is wringing out clothes even longer now? As one example, it feels like there is only limited development options available for the game at the moment, and you are experimenting with moving dials on existing features in order to try and change the gameplay. Yes, I do agree on that. We've talked about that before, Helkiana, where they just seem to, and it's not even a subtle change, is it? Sometimes they go from um, you know 0 to 100 with a change, and everyone's like, "What the hell?" Like with the hearing overhaul.
yep, yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's just extreme changes.
yeah, I feel like a lot of these are not making the game better. Your tagline is "This is your story," but where is the story of maintaining every minuscule aspect of things that don't really matter for your survival, every life over and over again? I'm sure this makes me sound like I don't like DayZ. I love it, and believe it or not, I am keen for it to be harder than it is right now. I want DayZ to feel like a compelling survival game. On Tuesday, I was on a hardcore night server and stepped on a bear trap at a hunting area at night while starving. I struggled like hell to survive. I had to collect up rags with a broken leg in the dark to make a splint, limped to the next town, struggled to find food, cooked the chicken to eat something, just about turned the corner, and then got gunned down by a geared guy just after my leg held. That is compelling DayZ survival story. Constantly mending your jacket, constantly fixing a bleed, constantly mending gloves because you slid down one medium-sized ladder is not fun. We need an element of this, and we have it with how much the characters need to eat and drink, etc. I love the change to bandages needing to be disinfected and what that means. I really like the changes where there feels to be a reason for it. If you aren't prepared and you have and you have to bandage with an unclean rag, and then you need to go off looking for meds, that is a really cool mechanic of a survival game. These reward players for staying where they spawned if they made it through the battle royale stage and actually looting the medical areas in Berezino or found that alcohol before moving on. If you don't search for stuff you need, it could bite you in the ass later, and then you need to search for meds. So Helkiana, I've talked a lot. What are your thoughts on what he said?
Uh, I I I do agree. Like, there's some bits that are just a bit like too much. Like he said about going down the ladders with the gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really annoying. They immediately, get ruined and stuff. Like
Some of the
constantly doing
items
your
seem like they're literally made in the cheapest workshop in the most least resourced country in the world, don't they? It's like, what the hell? How are these leather gloves, wearing out so quick?
Well, yeah, so some of these mechanics they just make you avoid. Like for example, if I would be on a PvP server, I would very rarely go on a ladder. Like I would just avoid doing it because I may not have gloves, or the gloves I have are like some flimsy little thing, which will definitely get ruined. And you cannot stay on that ladder to go slowly, um, because you will just get shot, right? Um, so like he said, there are like things they made that are good, like the disinfected bandages. Um, It can be more changes towards that. It's just, oh, in some way, I do understand DayZ. Balancing a lot of this stuff is difficult. It does depend on a lot of feedback from the community, and we don't know how much do they play their own game, you know, like, and in what kind of circumstances do they have enough variety of feedback when they do play the game? Because I like to play in one way, right? X person likes to play in another way, and then you need both sides to be able to balance it, right? Because otherwise, you're just going to balance towards one side, which is maybe making it a bit too hardcore kind of thing. Because even on my server, people are like, "Oh, it's too easy. I find canned food all the time. Turn it down." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like I played and I haven't found one." You know, it like it's a lot on the luck as well, with that kind of thing. And I can't balance it just because one person says they find too much, because other people don't find it, and there's got to be like a medium in between, and just find other ways. Like for example, I made so canned food does decay as well, so people might be finding too much canned food, but if they're just going to keep it in their inventories, it's
Hmm.
eventually going to decay, and there's no point in hoarding it. So just leave it there. Someone else might find it instead. Um, so they just they need this feedback, and they should just listen to people, but not all the time either. Like,
Yeah, I would love to see them have a feedback session, and not just I'm not just wanting content creators, because the one thing that I was going to say for the end, but I'll say it now: content creators play DayZ different to most players,
yeah,
purely because they need those interactions, they need those events and things like that. Um, ZZ, that's me, and I know I haven't done it in ages. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Um, but yeah, it's if they went through and found maybe some of the people who are actually using the feedback tracker, and things like that, and invited them to a session, and maybe some yeah. I committees don't generally produce great products. You need a visionary. But it'd be a starting point, maybe. Invite feedback, and I don't know. I don't know, Helkiana. It's just in retrospect, I do agree more with this point, because he gave a really good example there of how and I've always said this: you get a lot of people complain about things. Well, actually, he did continue on, so let me continue on. However, carrying 6 bandages, I'm known for this already, 3 sewing kits, etc., because you were forced to, isn't feeling very fun to me. Constantly having to mend my clothes while I'm in the town or look for a new jacket after I've dealt with 4 Zs is becoming brain-numbingly dull to me. Please, can we have a rethink on the punitive simulator direction we are headed in? There is no choice in dealing with Zs. We all have to handle them, and they are a needed part of the game. They are vital to it. But every town I'm in right now, I find myself really annoyed by the experience, and it repeats over and over again until you are geared enough to shoot them suppressed pretty much. There is no survival mechanic in having to fix your trousers and jacket every 5 minutes and bandage multiple times. I guess it slows the player down, but I think the balance feels off with this massive. And yeah, that's I lost track of the amount of times that you get ganged up on once, and the next thing your vest is ruined, your pants are ruined, your backpack's ruined, and you're like, oh, that was great. Um, yeah,
yeah,
now I've got to
it
go and
definitely
replace all this gear.
definitely needs a bit of balancing that way. If you're gonna make the zombies a bit more aggro, then you gotta turn the other stuff a bit down,
Yeah.
to keep it in line, because it's just really annoying to have to constantly find clothes. Um, I see Scale PSP, they're suggesting to have beginner, medium, and hardcore community servers, public servers. You mean like official ones? Because like that's gonna be hard because like for example, when I made my server, I made it hardcore, right? But I can mod it in such way it is more hardcore, it's more functionality to make it hardcore. But to be honest, I did make some other stuff easier. Like for example, I turned down the damage to gloves and shoes, like because I don't like it. It's just too much. um, there's other ways. There's other things they can make to make the gameplay harder. You know, like the game is harder, but like not tedious.
Yeah. Yep. Well, his next point is arguably one of the tedious ones. Rain on official. There is just no let up. It rains on Livonia so much. ChatGPT summed it up as the constant rain on Livonia service combined with longer ringing out times for close adds unnecessary difficulty without providing means to counteract it. The writer recommends adjusting the rain frequency and drying times or introducing more effective countermeasures. Part of the issue, like I personally, I don't like people complaining about the rain, Helkiana. That's kind of Livonia's thing. It's one of the things that makes Livonia a bit more hardcore. The lack of fruit spawns, plus the rain. It's a server that, for the most part, is generally for the more hardcore survivalist style players. You know, particularly with how many large large forested areas and stuff like that. But I generally don't have an issue because I love the firemen's outfits. That said, you know, they're heavy, which does impact your stamina, but it makes you basically immune to rain. So if I can, as a freshborn, I'll go straight to a fire station and try to find a fire axe because it's just such a good axe overall, and firefighting clothes. Generally prefer the black ones, just because they're a little bit more camouflaged, and then I don't have to worry about the rain. So I don't know whether he just didn't consider that, but there's no other real options though, barring some of the military gear. You've got the raincoat, which only has 20 slots from memory, but there's nothing to protect your pants. You can get wellies for your feet, yes, but you know, I don't know many people who run with the wellies.
Samrak runs with the wellies. He loves them.
And then, you said the backpacks, because the other thing as well is once you get wet, not only are you at a greater risk of influenza or the flu, but it weighs you down. The weight of everything increases and you suffer. But there just doesn't seem to be. I don't. What's your thoughts, Helkiana?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, they do have some issues with the weather system. It's not great. It should get a bit of an overhaul, because it definitely rains too much. And I have issues right now. I'm trying to make a summer server, and like it's still like people are like, it still rains too much, and I'm like, but I turned it down, and it's just like it's their system doesn't work well. So, even if they do adjust it, you know, they made it for Livonia specifically. In the code it says there's higher chance for bad weather compared to Chernarus, to like storm. So with the wet and all that, I agree. Like, I mean, one thing that would be nice for them to do is to have an extra slot for like a raincoat, you know, and then make one that covers like both top and bottom. So it doesn't take away, like, I have to sacrifice this space and this good thing, you know, this good jacket I have on because, or like a t-shirt because I have to put a raincoat on. I never like that. They should maybe look into making layers of clothes.
Please.
You know, and then you can have the raincoat, and then you can maybe have like the ghillie stuff on top.
A rain poncho would be great. Something that
rain
you
poncho,
would go,
yeah.
if a good poncho will cover your backpack too. So you're pretty
Yeah.
much covered from the neck down, and you've got a hood that you can pull up over your head with most of them.
Yeah.
So
And the poncho doesn't have to have slots, to give you more storage. It should be just that's it. That's the only
yeah,
use is to be protected from the rain. Obviously, it's gonna be like the most OP thing, I guess. So
no, but
people are
you
gonna
can
like
balance
everyone.
it with for if you've never worn a poncho, it gets pretty hot underneath them. Because you basically it's a very humid environment. So whilst you might be dry from the rain, you can't just leave it on all the time. Make it bright yellow with ducks on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you can definitely have other ways of balancing it, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
then it would still get damaged if like that would get damaged first before your clothes, right?
Yep.
So once it's
Make
ruined,
that
then it
easily
doesn't protect you
damaged.
any. Yeah,
Make it
and
easily
then
damaged.
yeah, and then for example, they can make it if it's damaged, like badly damaged or ruined, then it
It doesn't work.
barely protects you anymore, right? Your other
Mm-hmm.
clothes. So there's ways that they could go about it. We're trying
Yeah,
to make this
you
happen in our
maybe
phone.
craft one from. I can't really think of anything in game that you could use because there's quite a limited amount of items in the game. Maybe leather or canvas. You could potentially make one from that, but
Yeah.
they don't have garbage bags or anything. But yeah, different colors of them, have the yellow ones like you'd find in, most towns and stuff like that. And then the military areas have more camouflage ones and, made out of better materials that might last a bit. So there, becomes quite a valuable
Yeah.
item, but,
Yeah.
they get ruined easily, would be a thing. So you can't, but again, it's, as you said, it's a balancing issue because it would be quite a, OP item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's options there, and then have a look at their weather system a little bit because I do think it's lacking at the moment, even though they made CFG weather XML. That is just not working well from what I've seen. Most people don't use it. I ended up I was trying to use it for my server. I ended up having to write code for
Mm-hmm.
the weather because it just wouldn't do what I wanted to do. And even now, still doesn't work well.
Now, he did cover a few other things. I know some people will be telling me that I should go and play an arcade game. The DayZ clearly isn't for me because I should just get good. But I really enjoy DayZ and I play mostly DayZ Survival. I don't shoot anyone all day yesterday. I didn't shoot anyone all day yesterday for 8.5 hours at a fish one and I still enjoyed it loads. But the game's not offering enough compelling survival mechanics for us. It is turning into the ugly sister, constantly pointing a finger at her chest, screaming, "Fix the jacket, Cinderella. Mend your gloves, Cinderella. You need a new knife, Cinderella. You may as well pick up all the knives, Cinderella. Don't slide down ladders, Cinderella." Is that like a joke, Cinderella, or is he just typoing it? It's raining and there is nothing you can do, Cinderella. Carry a bag full of bandages, Cinderella. You get the picture. If you want to make the game harder, make it harder to carry more guns. Now, this I 110 million% agree with. I hate how easy it is to carry, and I do it myself, but I hate that the game allows you to carry a literal armory of weapons on you and switch and draw between them at any second. Guns don't fit in backpacks that are big. You should not be able to, with your backpack on your back, reach in and pull out a fucking sniper rifle that is ready to shoot in seconds. You should have to break them down to be able to fit them in there. But I know this is talking about a big change. Potentially, you probably understand how easy it is to do, but some weapons are very easy to break down. The Steyr Org, for example, the barrel on that comes off in seconds, literally seconds. It's literally a little lever that you slide to the side, twist the barrel, pull it out, and it's off. Other weapons like your SLR or the FAL, that's a bit more of a complex action to break it down. The Steyr is already a small weapon, so it could easily fit inside a backpack, but you couldn't bring it out and then shoot it. You might be able to the smaller ones, the carbines. You might be able to get one of them inside a big size backpack, but and it wouldn't take up too much room. But it's still not easy to pull a rifle out. I love the fact that he said make the SMG class needed again. I personally like the MP5 Helkiana. That with a suppressor on it and a good scope. It's a bit of a laser and a decent weapon to have early starting game before you can get something a bit more meaty. But there's an SMG that can fit into your webbing, into your plate carrier pouches. Makes sense. Then having the people carrying 2 rifles. I don't know if anyone's ever carried guns a lot in their life, but I had a question asked on a military group I'm in, Helkiata, and they said, what was the worst piece of military kit? And for me, it was the M79 grenade launcher. I love the weapon. It is a lot of fun to fire. And it's got a beautiful history, not a beautiful, it's a weapon of war, but you know what I mean. It's got a long history of use. And is still used by many countries to this day. But we have a policy in the Australian Army that a lot of armies do. No guns are allowed to go scale speeder. Fucking cheeky bugger. But you're not allowed to carry a weapon in your backpack because basically when shots ring out, the first thing you do is drop your backpack. You don't want to be running around with a backpack on. So effectively, you've left that weapon behind you, or you've got to spend time getting it off. So will you guys take me seriously? It's hard for me to have a serious point here when they're trolling me in the chat. I did serve in Somalia. We'll come back to that later. But someone just said it there. Decycled. American here, lol, it's not easy to carry 2 on a sling. It's not. And the reason I said I hated the M79 was because I would have to fire a move with my rifle, and the M79 is only a rare use weapon. You're not using it all the time, but you have to have it on you. So it's on a sling on your other shoulder. And every time you go to ground, that thing would come up and smack me in the back of the fucking head, right underneath the helmet. And it hurts. It really, generally every exercise I came back and I'd had multiple cuts on the back of my head, Helkiana. So one, you shouldn't be able to sling a weapon without attaching a sling to it. 2, I agree. You could do it if you wanted to, but there's got to be some sort of penalty for having to switch between weapons. At the moment, it's just it's stupid, Helkiana. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I do agree that it's a bit too easy to carry guns in your backpacks and I've been trying to find a design that it's still fun, because you need to be able to carry guns, so because you might need them later, you might find stuff later. A lot of the times, I find a gun but I don't have mags or I don't have ammo. So I keep that in my bag for when I find more ammo later. But then it's a difficult one, right? Because you don't always have all the bits you need to make the gun work. So completely making them so they don't go in backpacks, it might be hard because of that. But like he said, maybe make them collapsible. So that would be a really nice feature. I'm not sure how doable because the way they have the slots is a bit.
They'd need a lot of new models as well, which would be it'll take time. It would be an overnight thing.
Yeah. It would be a big undertaking in code and model, artist side. I do
just
think
quickly, DayZ saying there, this would piss off many players to reduce the number of guns a player can carry. Like I said, many started playing DayZ because it's become Diet COD with survival. Have options. You make the vanilla game a certain way, which, in my opinion, should be more hardcore, more survival oriented, but have a way that modders can do what they want to create the game that they and their community want. I'm not saying there should be a blanket forcing of everyone. As much as I don't like the, those PvP sweaty boy servers, Helkiana, some people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do, not some. A lot of people do. They're generally the most popular servers, aren't they? But vanilla needs to be, in my opinion, more hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, they could make it, the way they did, so you can't put it on your hotbar, and then put it
Mm-hmm.
directly like in your hands or something. They could do that so it doesn't go from your backpack into the hotbar. That would make it easier to stop that. Um, Definitely, it needs, careful consideration. This might be something that they've already been thinking about for a long time. I'm sure of it. It's just it's a very hard one to consider. Like a lot of people would hate that a change that would make it too restrictive. I think definitely having a sling by default is needed, and then like we've seen some really cool slings in mods where you can hold it in the front as well, like, or
Yep.
diagonal on the back. um
I think they call them
they
quick
should.
draw slings or something. I used to know the name.
Yeah,
It's like a 3-point, and it hangs off the
yeah,
front of you, so it's easy to pull back up again. Enables you to grab a sidearm, and your weapon's still attached and hanging off you. But again, it's hanging off you, so it's not the most comfortable thing to have. But it's great for a sort of specific moment, and
yeah,
even allow improvised slings. If you find a rope, you can craft a sling from it. So that, it doesn't work as well as, say, your 3-points that hang off the front of you and so on, enabling quick access, but it does enable you to carry it. Same with melee weapons. I hate that I
yeah.
can magically attach a shovel to my shoulder.
Um, yeah, definitely. I think that it's uh it's a difficult one. Like it depends what kind of game. Like I played Once Human for a while, and they have like 2 slots for weapons and one for melee, and it's been really nice. But it's a bit more of a casual survival game, like more arcadey, whereas DayZ is trying to be a bit more realistic. Um, One thing would be make weapons super heavy. Like Tarkov does that. Tarkov does that with armor and weapons. They're so heavy that like you would just prefer to not have that second gun because it's too heavy, and it will slow you down too much.
That's a great point. If even that as a mechanic, if you're carrying a second weapon, it slows you down. Even something that I've always wanted, Helkiana, like what's his name? Scale Speeder was joking in there about they should remove jumping. I would love to see your footwear have more impact than just durability, in that you can wear sneakers and you can run a lot faster wearing sneakers than you can wearing military boots. That's a fact.
Yeah,
But wearing the boots, you have increased ankle support, so you can jump off something a bit safer, because that you've got better ankle support than if you're wearing sneakers. And again, this is going down a complex thing, but the more weight you carry, if you're a loot whore like I am, and you're carrying your stamina bars on basically nothing, and you're only wearing sneakers, and you jump from a decent height, there's a good chance you're going to fucking break your leg or your ankle at least. Whereas if you're wearing better boots, that chance is massively reduced because that ankle support's there. So again,
yeah,
someone said, how far do I want to go with the realism? I'm all about that cock and ball torture. I would like there to be more reasons than just shiny, shiny, pretty, pretty to pick things up and have to switch to certain items. Most people, when they look at the boots and the shoes and that, I generally always go with assault boots because I can put a knife in there. But I've got a mate who swears by the hunting boots because he says they're the quietest. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that it can do. Some things I think they're just hesitant to do because, like you said, for the speed, I don't think they have the possibility of altering the speed of the player, even if they're in the same state, because being walk, jog, sprint, those are states, they're not
Yeah.
speeds. So, it would be nice if they could add it. So, you can adjust the speed because, for example, there's been some mods with like some massive backpacks, and they have it so
Oh, yeah.
basically you cannot jog or sprint
Yep.
with the massive backpacks on. But that is like an extreme one because you could have the massive backpack, but like it could be empty, right? And it still stops you.
Yeah.
Which is not great because like we don't have a way of like slowing the character down little by little. Yeah, I think we might want to discuss a little bit. I've seen a comment about how the Running Manzi has made this feedback on Twitter instead of the
Yep, that was the first point. DayZ actually replied to him saying, "We like this tweet. Feedback noted and thanks for unleashing. The feedback tracker is crucial as it helps us prioritize." Now, there was quite a bit of comment about using the feedback tracker. One being that G's likes it to be broken down into individual points, which totally I understand, because if you put in there a big long rant and reference about 1,000 different things, then they've got to fix all 1,000 different things before they can close that ticket. So
Yeah.
I personally feel that this should have been, it's great to share it on Twitter. And he did start it off by saying, part of the reason why he was, he did say somewhere that he did consider that, but didn't want his community bombarding the feedback tracker. Well, I don't agree with that point. He's always been fairly open about wanting people to discuss. I know sometimes he does get in a tither, but that's just part of the stresses of everyday life. But I would have liked to have seen feedback raised and links to those feedback tickets so people could either agree or, not everyone who follows him is going to agree with everything he says. So it could have created some good discussions in the best place for DayZ to the dev team to monitor it. I have tickets been made to reference this stuff, Helkiana? Are you aware of that?
To what he's been saying. I don't know if he's done it. But like there is a bit of distrust in the feedback tracker because we have made several tickets with bug reports and suggestions and all that, and they tend to get ignored. So obviously him having a big following, making this, it brings attention, right? Like a lot of people have said, oh, well, I've sorted out so many things by just making a scene on Twitter, because in private tickets and all that and emails, they just don't get sorted, right? So I think him bringing it to Twitter, definitely, yeah, do it. If you have a big following and you want to see a change happening, do it. He could have just made the feedback trackers and put the links there as well, be like, make sure you comment here. But yeah.
I still would have liked to have seen it. I think it could have been quite a good discussion because it did generate a lot of feedback from people and people adding to it, people disagreeing with it, and just it started a good discussion.
Yeah. Some people like the grouping system as well, from what I've seen. Some when we were complaining about the zombie changes, me and Roach, someone was like, "Oh no, because it's better now because it's like they're more challenging." I'm like, "But no, they're just annoying. There's no challenge, just annoyance. It's different."
Yeah.
Like I like it hard, right? I'm making a hardcore PV server. I have zombies that you need, a full mag of 556 to take them down. Uh but like they're very rare and like you can avoid them if you really want. But now people can't really avoid them. Like the people have been dying to them because they aggro them from way too far away, you know? And it's just not fun anymore. You can't sneak around.
With the digital high fives you said there, I made a ticket about PBOs not working, ignored for over a month. Is the feedback tracker a bit like social media? You need to get people interacting with your feedback for it to get prioritized. Is that how that works? Because I'll be honest, never been a fan of it. I think it's too complicated, and they don't have things like a link in game to create feedback, and it's a bit of a funny system in that there's some games where you can literally create a bug report and it will send through a lot of data straight away for you. Whereas DayZ's generally not been that good. I know they've gotten better, but how does that work, Helkiana?
But usually if you do get more people commenting and subscribing to the feedback tracker ticket, it just kind of shows, it's not just you kind of problem. Um, so you can get them to maybe take action a bit better than just having yourself. Um, but there is kind of like a running joke in the DayZ community about this part in the ticket where it's just, geez, change the task status from new to assigned and it stays there for several years, with no update whatsoever after. Because we don't really know what it actually means assigned. Like we don't get updates and just be like, oh, this is a low priority kind of ticket, or it will be fixed
We see,
promptly or
I see
something,
assigned, and I think someone's working on it.
Yeah.
What are the
Um,
different states of feedback on there?
I don't I don't know. Um,
As I was actually just thinking that Scale Speeder, be good to get him on to explain the workshop and how it works. We'll see what we can do. Worst they're going to say is no.
yeah, they'll probably say no. Um, but yeah, I mean, like for example, this time, on this ticket, someone tagged G's when I made this ticket. And then soon after they've assigned it. So I don't know, do I have to tag them all the time to see it happening? Like I have a ticket that I've created last year. No update. October 22nd, 2023 about an issue that does affect vanilla as well, maybe not as much as modded servers. Um and there's been nothing and I just don't know what are you supposed to do to get an acknowledgement. Have they even read this ticket? Because there are a lot of things, like I looked on the feedback tracker, I've seen some random things here that people have been making and I'm like, what even are you doing here? you know so they do have to waddle through a lot of it, and so
End of the day,
I
like how many tickets do you reckon get uploaded a day?
I don't know. Probably a lot. I mean, they do use this for Arma and DayZ and Vigor. So I'm not sure if G's is handling the whole thing or just the Z part, There's the DayZ modding, DayZ PlayStation, Xbox, and just DayZ itself. I don't generally look much. I do try to search it before making a new ticket to see if someone else
Mm-hmm.
made a report like mine. Um, yeah. Sometimes, even if you do get a lot of subscribers, like my requests from others, it might not always get, anywhere. But
Yeah.
that's one way of
You,
at
you should
least,
you should have
other
linked the
people.
song. You should have linked the song.
um, at least if you have a lot of people explaining that they have the same issue, and it's just it does help them a bit forward.
Well, I just sent a message on Twitter to the dev team asking if we can get G's on in the future, just to talk about it. But yeah, Helk should sing the song.
I don't sing. You don't want to.
Wearing my cardigan.
Dude, I got kicked out of the Christmas Carol choir, so I'm really bad.
Okay, I think we've pretty much exhausted that topic, but it was good. Just anything that gets the discussion going is good, in my opinion. And yeah, I think it was positive. And the dev team did respond. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed. We do see some changes. I won't hold my breath. I'm saying that in the nicest manner, but it's giving them some food for thought at least. So maybe we will, maybe we won't. We've seen them change things based on feedback in the past. So fingers crossed. Helkiana, anything you would like to showcase this week, mate? Any games you tried out or anything like that?
I haven't. No, I haven't really. Like, I've been playing the finals this week a lot because they've got their new season. It's like an FPS game, multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
So think about a little bit like COD, CS, but like with certain abilities, but they're not too Overwatch like abilities, which are like it's a very fast paced game. Um, it's kind of sad that it doesn't have more people playing it because it's a really good game. It's free to play, so anyone can try it, see if you like it, if you don't. Um, but like their new season has brought like so many good skins because that's a nice thing about them, right? It's a free to play game and they do sell skins, but their pricing is so fair. Like it's £8 for like something like £8 for the battle pass, and you get like several good skins for
Yep.
your character, plus animations and plus all kinds of other things. Um, for £8. And then like I think I looked at the most expensive skin on the shop is like £12, which is really good because like a card one, like a simple one, is like £20. um, so they're not stretching just to make money. They're very dedicated to making a good game. Um, so they released a new map now, like a Kyoto map, which is really beautiful. I was saying like it's a shame that we have to destroy it because the game has like destruction physics. So all the buildings can be destroyed and like fall apart and all that. Um, which is kind of sad when you see like this beautiful pagoda going down. um, but yeah, if you like FPS games, do try the finals. It's free.
I am going to showcase a Humble Bundle pack that I think may interest some of you modders who do items and so on. Humble Bundle have a low poly game dev bundle because I understand that the if it's too high a poly, it makes it hard to implement in DayZ. Is that right, Helkiana?
Yeah, yeah.
So they've got a pack that let's dance with the devil here. Um,
So that low poly it's a style. Um, so it will definitely be way low poly. It's a specific stylized style as well. So it might not fit these things.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is probably not going to be redeemable on Epic Games or Unity itself. They might be on their own kind of website. So, do pay attention. So that one is something more that can be used for DayZ.
The Epic one.
Yeah, the Epic one. And these ones you can redeem on Unreal Engine. The ones that says Unreal Engine tag on them. The ones that say Unity, you will have to do it on Unity Store.
I love Scale Speeder. I hope to one day have a beer with the guy. He's a first class troll. But yeah, and look, we've got our link there. I shared it before in chat. If you ever want to look at something, they have some really good assets. So got a Northern Ireland environment one, medieval lake houses pack. So if you're looking for stuff to differentiate between just the vanilla DayZ models, yeah, you're going to need to know how to import it and set it all up and all the rest of it. But there's plenty of modders who are capable of that, and some of those people who can do it, well, here's some packs that might help you. So, yeah, Middle Eastern village environment, that'd be good for like Takistan and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of good stuff, and a lot of these will probably be modular, so you can make more houses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like they will have some example houses, but most of it will probably be modular, so you can make more so you have more variations. It's very easy. I've showed once on my stream how to export from Unreal Engine. From Unity, I don't know. There is a way, but I have not done Unity. In Unreal Engine, it's simple as opening the project, right click, export, done. You have your model exported. Now you can import it to DayZ. I do that a lot. So.
Connor sent through a screenshot of the statuses from the feedback tracker. Acknowledged, assigned, confirmed internally, need more info, new, reviewed. And I guess they'd probably be closed as well, or potentially some others, but they're probably ones internally. But yeah. So yeah, check out Humble Bundle, folks. They always have some cool stuff. And I've got to get back into doing the giveaways from those as well. I've let that lax because quick update, I have shut down, or it will be shutting down on the 19th of this month. The Aussie Daddy, it just wasn't being used enough to justify me spending $200 of mostly my own money a month for a server that no one really had a use for. So I could do better with that. I can eat more chicken and become even more roly-poly. But yeah, so we've let that go. But yeah, we will keep you updated on that. Well, no, I think that's pretty much it. It was a long show, just with me and you. Good thing we didn't have a guest, honestly, this week, because there was quite a lot to go in depth on. Next week's guest, ladies and gentlemen, before we do individual spotlights, so I don't forget, I believe off the top of my head, oh no, I've got it open. Erno's coming on, folks. So I'm looking forward to that one. I've been a big fan of his, and he always seems to be trying to implement new and innovative stuff. And then obviously there's the bit of the copyright issue with the current iteration he's got, which also applies to everyone knows DayZ Fallout servers. So it'd be interesting to hear how they're dealing with that issue, because that was something that you were quite interested in, weren't you, Helkiana?
Yeah, we were touched on it a little bit last time, and he said he wants to talk about it and as to why, and yeah, it's gonna be a good discussion when he's on.
So, Erno, next week, ladies and gentlemen, individual spotlights. What was something you would like to shout out this week?
So this weekend I've done some big updates for my mods and the trader mod. So I've added a new feature for Much Stuff Pack. like the storage items. So the virtualization of the storage. What that means is that if you enable it, obviously it's an experimental feature, to be careful, be warned. I've tested it heavily, but there's always unknowns and until like it is being used on high population servers. Um, so if it's not activated, it won't affect your storage at all. It's been running for like a day. No one has shouted anything of any issues since I've done the update yesterday. But basically, why this is useful is to reduce lag when you load in a base that is massive in an area. Like we all know, especially when you drive, you load in a base and it just lags like crazy. It's because it has to do the network transfer of all that data, every container that is there and every single item that is inside that container. So if you have like 20
Hmm.
barrels in that area, it's like a lot of data to suddenly send over to those clients. Um, so this only works on the much stuff pack items, but basically what it does, it puts them into a data file on the server and it removes the items from inside the items. And then you cannot go up to it and tell it, restore the items. So it will go to the server and it will create all the items inside, maintaining their state to what they were before. So, if you had rotten food, it will be rotten food. Um, so it's very useful to reduce that lag. It does have auto timers, so it will automatically store them. So people, because we all know how players are, and they will not remember to store the items after they're done using them. So I would suggest, 20 minutes timer. So after 20 minutes, people use them, they will just automatically be stored on the server. So it will really, really help with the lags. Obviously, the downside is that if you have them, like for example, a gun wall with all the guns on top, those will not show anymore after they're being stored because they're not there anymore, obviously. So it does remove that kind of um visual aspect to your base, I guess, but it will save performance on server and on clients as well. So please do use it and try it out and let me know how it works. I have it running on my server and there's been no complaints so far. Because I need people to test this heavily. I do have more plans to make this available for like vanilla items like the barrels, for example. At the moment I haven't made it, until I confirm that this works fine as it is.
That's a pretty good update. Anything that could help reduce performance on the servers is a good thing.
Yeah, obviously expansion has the same kind of feature. There's some other mods like tofu, like I think virtual storage. Um, but, I didn't take their code, and people were like, "Why don't you just use that code?" Well, I made my own. I'm my own spin on it. I understand that other people have it. So it's just a different approach to it. I did try to make sure every item, like, this special ones like food, ammo, guns, all of those are a lot harder to deal with when you have to recreate them. Um, yeah, and I did add some new items as well, the flip flops. uh, so you can wear, as on your summer servers, flip flops, and unfortunately, I couldn't make them have sounds like special sounds because that's a lot of work, and I'm not a sound person either. So, they're just for looks, they're the same tier like the sneakers, so they're good for sneaking around. Um, and the mannequin, which I actually both mannequin and the flip flops went tried helped me make them because I'm not a modeler. And the mannequin is just you can store like you can put your clothes on it and it will sit there and it will show, like I think wait, I have a video somewhere. Can I share that?
Mm-hmm. I've been giving away some games in chat there, folks. Click on those links and whoever gets them, gets them. Thank you for watching the show live. This might be a good way to do it as well in future, I think, Helkiana, that each month with my humble choice, we give them away to people throughout the show. Talking about it before, I just remembered that I had some games that I've already paid for that I need to give away.
Is it working? Yep. So they have like, the same body as the human body in DayZ, so you can fit all the items on the mannequin. And I specifically wanted to have both female and male character mannequins because a lot of the other mods that I have there, they only have one type. And you can swap in between the items. There might be, some modded clothing items that might clip or something. It is what it is. We can't really fix that, but you basically you have a load, like your full loadout. You can put it on the mannequin, and then you can have them a couple in your base, and then if you die, you can just go up, grab a new loadout, kind of thing. So you're ready to go.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
For the flip-flops, I had to make some custom coding there. I wanted them to still be shown. Yeah. Hopefully I can bring more items like that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are done for this week. I just sent you a link. Click on it to see if you can get it. Someone said give that one to you if it hasn't already been claimed by someone watching. But yeah, thank you all so much. Hey?
It's been redeemed.
Someone already got it. Well, good luck to whoever got it. And yeah, we will see you all same time, same channel as always. Don't forget you've got powerly.gg if you like what we do, folks. We've also got our merch. I've got some more stuff I've got to do there. But yeah, we've got a lot going on. And I am probably the worst person to be the one trying to organize it. I really need someone to become my personal manager. Because I'm just shit at organising shit. All I'm good at doing is talking and upsetting people, aren't I, Helkiana?
Yep.
But yeah, you didn't have to agree so well. But no, all the best, everyone. And we will see you same time, same channel as always next week for the best DayZ podcast, as well as these guys. I love these guys. I was actually thinking we need to do a United DayZ podcast and get Greedy Peasant and the lads from Friendlies on and just all do one together because they're the only three regular podcasts that I know of for DayZ. So, yeah, it'd be good to have one with all of us on just talking shit. But, yeah, let us know if you'd like to see that in the comments down below, folks. All the best, everyone, and ciao for now.
Bye.